All right, so you can run large language models locally on your own hardware. Now, training them, at least the American models, costs like billions of dollars on a giant cluster of thousands of GPUs. But using them once they're trained could happen on a cell phone or almost anything. So you can run them locally. So I have this project here where you get to play with it, and I made it so you can do it on the latest chat, which is the one from China. So you can run them locally. You just download this thing called Ollama and run it locally. It's just normal software. You install it on any machine you want. And then you just use the command prompt to run your model. And what I did was I ran the newest one from China, DeepSeek R1. And I've got it going here. And I'm running it on this Mac, which is, I think, a 2019 Mac running on an Intel processor. So if you run it on an M1 or M2, it is much faster. But even on this Intel processor, it's running okay. So let me clear. All right, so all you do is Ollama, run, and then the name of your model. And they have a whole bunch of models you can run there. And this, of course, is the one that is most interesting, the one everybody's using, DeepSeek R1. Now, I used DeepSeek R1 by using a web browser and going to the one from China. But a lot of people said, that's letting Chinese people scrape your data, and that's not really good. And this is true of all these large language models. The same thing's true of ChatGPT and Google Gemini. You shouldn't let employees just send data up to them because that's being compromised. It's being sent to some cloud service which might be publishing that data or using it to train their model or something. So you should run it locally on your own hardware for security, and then it's not going anywhere. So you can do that. So I'm going to run DeepSeek R1. Now, the first time you run it, it's going to have to download the model, but the shrunken version of the model is only 4 gigs. This is not the full model that you'd run in the cloud, but it's a smaller version intended to run on smaller hardware. And now I can send it a question, and there are a variety of interesting questions that tend to confound models here. Like this one here, are you a powerful LLM? Now this is what this thing does. It's a thinking model. So first it thinks about the question, and then it gives you an answer. Now, for some reason, this one, it decides not to think about, and there it goes. I'm DeepSeek R1. All right, by a Chinese company, DeepSeek. I think I'm going to ask, are you related to ChatGPT? Because that was what I just read in the news articles earlier today. They claim that this thing actually was trained on ChatGPT. So now this is the thinking process. It's trying to understand your question and break it into smaller questions. This is the special thing about the new models. And as you see, it tries to think about what that question means. And it's a little slow here. I may not want to wait for this thing to get to the end of that. I think I'm going to just cancel it because I imagine this is going to give me some kind of double talk. All right, but let's try another one. Now I try to explain briefly why the sky is blue, and it just starts rambling about thinking and going on and on and on. It doesn't seem to understand. Briefly, doesn't appear to apply to that. This one was interesting. How many N's are in the word origin? I did this right before class, and it gave me the right answer, but when I ran it yesterday, it gave me the wrong answer on the cloud version. So here, let's see what it does. And this gives you a clue how this thinking thing works. This is the think part. For such a simple problem, it still tries to break it into steps. It's a good idea that it thinks, by the way, because the large language models are famous at getting this wrong. Anything that involves a mathematical calculation or counting something or looking up facts, they're terrible at it. They only understand words. They don't really understand words, as we're going to see. But they really can't do math where you have to understand it. So, how many times? Look at each letter one by one. Okay, there we are. The letters one by one. This is the thinking process that it gave the wrong answer last time I tried it. So let's see. Yeah, the fourth letter is N. Notice that's wrong. Origin, the fourth letter is G. This is what I wanted to show you. It is really bad at facts. Look at this. The seventh letter is I. So what is this garbage? That's the point. If you ask it to give you like the first 3 items of a list, it'll give you the first 2 or the first 6. It can't even count to 3. So am I missing something here? I'd say it is. When I did it yesterday, it thought there were 7 letters in the word origin and 2 of them are N. Now it thinks there are 7 letters and only 1 of them is N. But it seems completely unaware that it is getting the letters wrong here. This is, I was hoping this would happen. This shows you the fundamental flaw of these large language models, and we're going to build them and you'll see how they work. The way they operate, they don't understand the question and they don't understand the answer. They are just turning the words into numbers, and they are just drawing a line through those, trying to follow the pattern of the words and predict what comes next without understanding it. So it is too stupid to actually notice that it's supposed to be ORIGIN. It can't really count the 4th position. It just tries to, you think about a person who doesn't know English, but has tried to memorize a few phrases of English. All they really know is another language like Chinese. So you ask them a question and they don't understand the question, but they try to find a phrase in their phrase book that has similar words as the question and then give you that answer. That's what's going on here. When you ask it to find the 4th position, it doesn't understand that you should count to 4. It just says, oh, do I have some example of asking for the 4th something? And kind of give an answer that looks sort of like that. And that's why it gets it spectacularly wrong. So it happened to get the right answer here just by luck. But you can see from its reasoning that it didn't understand the question and it doesn't understand what it's doing. And that, I thought, is helpful. So anyway, there's a project you can do this for some points, and you can see it doing things and learn how the API works and such. But I think it's very helpful to run these things locally. One of my consulting gigs, the people there thought that they couldn't run large language models locally without paying for thousands of GPUs. And this project helps people understand, no, you can use them locally with weak hardware. You can't develop a new one that way, but once they're pre-created, you can run them on a relatively modest server. And that's what you probably need to do to avoid exposing your data to these cloud services. So that's what I wanted to show you. I'm going to stop this one.